Hi. How are you?
Hi, Erynn. How are you?
Good. You can hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good.
How are you?
Pretty good. Just back from Mexico, back to work here in Florida, getting ready to jump the next Nations Cup in San Juan Capistrano next week, followed by 2 weeks of Thunderbird. The first week is Major League, and then we finish the Nations Cup tour in Vancouver in Thunderbird, which means I got to compete in all three, which I think is pretty exciting.
Nice. That sounds like a really exciting time for you. You have a lot of events coming up. That sounds really nice. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure to see you ride in person in real life. Honestly, I had a blast watching you compete. So thanks for being here.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
So to begin our talk today and get a little bit of an introduction from you, tell us, how did you get introduced to the sport? How did you begin your riding career?
Well, I'm pretty lucky that I was born into a horsey family. As far back as my grandpa, who also rode for the Canadian team. My mom and dad had a business when we were growing up, and in 1985 we moved to our first farm. And that's really when I had the ponies in my backyard. That's really when I started to ride regularly, it was the fall that I was 5 years old, and then the rest is history.
Wow, that's so cool. I wish you had pictures of your ponies in the backyard and everything. That sounds so nice. Like every childhood's dream,
Exactly.
like a childhood dream. Where were you born?
Oakville, Ontario. So I'm born and raised in Ontario. I still consider it home, but since COVID, I've had to live in Florida just because during COVID, it got so hard to travel back and forth. And when COVID happened, I was working for Erynn, but more just meeting him at horse shows. And now I'm a full-time employee.
That's nice. That's nice. Everything around horses, it's really exciting. I think everybody dreams about someday having the opportunity to be around horses 24/7 and, living the whole horse experience. So that's really nice. How many horses do you ride currently?
Because Alon is a dealer, the list is always changing. Sometimes more, sometimes less. This winter in WEF, I got the status of having the most different FEI horses that jogged for the 12 weeks. So that was a pretty cool status. But some come and stay, and some come and get sold. So my position is a bit unique where I'm not always showing the same horse every single week.
Yeah, that's exciting. What was that number like? How many horses were those?
I don't know. I didn't even count.
No?
Maybe 13. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention, but for the most part, I have my core string of Gakir, who we call Curly,
Yeah.
and Narcotique, and Coconut, and Corner Pocket. I have 4 or 5 that are kind of regulars.
Okay.
And then the rest we rotate from the sales horses to the new horses, and the ones that get sold, they go off and they do FEI with their new riders, and I get new ones.
That's very exciting. Tell us a little bit more about how is that experience of constantly changing horses. How do you get used to a new horse quickly to be ready for a show?
It's something that I've done since I was really young. Even when I was maybe 8 years old, I was catch riding ponies for other professionals. So I became very comfortable with getting on something new very quickly, basically my whole career. So I did it in ponies, I did it in equitation, I did it in junior jumpers. Then when I was a professional, I rode so many different hunters. And now really for the last 6 years, I've been only focusing on the jumpers and the high end of the sport. But I would say that's the reason I have the job that I have and the opportunity that I have, because the horses can come in. They're not bought for me specifically. They're bought for the sport and for the business. And it's my job to showcase them and make them look good and competitive so that they can be sold.
Yeah, perfect. And what tip would you give to someone that is currently, adapting to a new horse? What's the advice that you would give to that person to get comfortable with the new partnership?
So my dad told me when I was very young to look at a rider specifically like Erynn.
Okay.
And every time he got on a new horse, whether it was the best horse he'd ever ridden or the worst horse he'd ever ridden, he made the horse believe that it was the best horse he'd ever ridden. he's so kind when he rode. So he said, I really want you to think about that. So every time I get on a new horse, I just pet the horse, and I think this is the best horse I've ever ridden, and I don't have anything negative about my relationship with the horse, and I try to build on from that. Sometimes when you don't know something, it's almost easier.
Yeah.
You don't know what their habits are. You don't know what they're good at, what they're bad at, what their weaknesses are. You get on and ride. You treat them like they're the best horse you've ever ridden, and you learn them more quickly. And then as you get to know them, then sometimes it gets a little more complicated, because you anticipate something, or you know if the horse is going to shift to the left, or if it's going to spook in the corner, and then you ride a little bit more on the edge, because now you have an expectation of what the horse might do. When at the very beginning, you're like, this is the best horse I've ever ridden.
Yeah.
And you kind of go in blind, and you just ride what you're sitting on.
That's actually a great tip, because it's 100% true. I think when you go and try a horse, you have no idea what to expect. So you're just like, okay, we'll see. I'll just ride the way I normally do, and then we'll see how this comes out. But I think you're right. And especially, I think for me, it happens with my 7-year-old. You know, you already know him. I know him so well, so I know what it's going to happen. I know what to expect. And then, you know, I think you're right. Like, it's better when you don't have any expectations, and it makes your riding more natural.
I agree.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your daily routine. What's like a day in your life at home and at shows?
So my situation is a bit more unique, because Alon does most of the riding and the training at home.
Okay.
Between the two of us and the other riders at the barn, we each normally have between 8 to 10 to ride.
Mm-hmm.
So he does the heavy training, the heavy jumping, the heavy schooling. You know, if they need to jump a triple, he practices. If they need to jump a water, he practices. And really my job is just to compete with him in the ring. So my days consist of working the horses that are on my list. My regulars, like Curly, when I'm at home, I really try to ride him on the canals, ride him down the roads, take him to the preserve, and give him something else to look at other than the rings and the jumps, and do more fitness and cardio, because the serious work is really up to Alon. And that horse is so cool. I've ridden him in the ocean. I've ridden him in the forest. Like I can do anything with him. And I think when I don't get to practice on them every single day for the heavy training, I have to create a friendship and a relationship with them outside of that. So I use my time with them accordingly. But, you know, now Alon is in Europe, and I'm getting more opportunity to ride the new ones and to school the horses. So just like everything, the business changes and evolves. I get to teach more, and I really like that. So this summer, like I mentioned earlier, I'm on the Nations Cup Tour. We chose to skip Calgary this year because the Pan Ams is so late in the season. Yeah. That the opportunity for me was to jump the 3 Nations Cups, and then I'll come home back to Florida, and I'll stay a little more local. I'll show in Ocala, I'll show Michigan, I'll focus on the students that we have here, on the young horses that we have here, and then I'll gear back up heavily in the fall with Major League, the Spruce Meadows Masters, and hopefully to finish all off, we go to Chile for Pan Am Games.
Wow, you've got so many busy months ahead of you. That sounds really nice, though. What do you think is the most difficult part about riding other people's horses? What's the most challenging?
I think that the most challenging in the situation that I'm in is the pressure to produce a result. Yeah. Or if not a result, the pressure is to produce a good round. Now with Clip My Horse and Showgrounds Live, everything, the whole world can see everything that you're doing every single day. And when I know that I have the opportunity to ride these sales horses and these horses for Alon and the investors and the owners and the supporters, my margin of error is so small, because one bad video could mean a bad sale. It could mean the loss of a sale. So for as much as I'm riding for myself and for my own sport, I'm also riding for the business. And that would be the hardest thing, is the pressure of always making sure that the horse is going its best.
And what advice would you give to somebody who is under similar pressure or to pressure in general? You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be for the business, but what advice would you give to riders to overcome that pressure?
I think you have to keep it all in perspective because horses are horses. We can't control them. We can't control their thoughts. All we can do is manage them and work with them. And if you do have a bad round, certainly if you know in your heart that it's your mistake, you have to own your mistake. But if the horse makes a mistake too, you have to take the pressure off yourself and say, you know what, that was a little bit out of my control. Yes, I can do a little bit better. But the horse also deserves to be able to make a mistake. How else are they going to learn? We make mistakes. They can make a mistake, and you have to take the good with the bad. And certainly when you're riding under so much pressure, you can't take all of the blame yourself, or it makes yourself crazy. So for sure, perspective for me is the most important. I'm never saying blame the horse, but I'm saying that you have to look at the bigger picture. And I think that we have to allow horses to make mistakes, and we have to be okay with it because they're learning too. Not every horse is an expert. Horses have strengths and weaknesses, and we work with them. So if they make a mistake, we have to figure out how to make sure it doesn't happen again. But we can't take on the full responsibility of it, or it brings you down. And confidence in the end is what makes you better.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 50-50 sport, you know. We're a team, horse, you know, we're a partnership. So I think you're right, you know. Sometimes it can be on the rider, sometimes it can be on the horse. So always, you know, be aware of that and try to improve from whatever mistakes we make.
Exactly.
I want to switch topics and move on to Gakir, your beautiful chestnut horse. I think everybody loves him. Everybody knows him. Tell us more about him. How long have you been riding him, and how did that partnership begin?
So this is my third season on him, which is quite unique for me that he gets to stay and he gets to be my #1 guy. Yeah. My partnership with him started like any of them. He came into the barn to be a horse that was for sale, and Alon created a partnership between Esperanza and himself to own the horse. And right now, at this moment, the horse is just for me, which is pretty cool. It's so different when you actually get to have a relationship with that horse. That horse is my guy. Like, I can't wait to see him in the morning, and I'm always sad to leave him at the end of the day. And like I said, I've ridden him in the ocean in La Balle, and I've ridden him at the championships of Denmark. I know him inside and out. He knows me. I think he really believes in me. I think that he's a serious contender, and he's a big team player. He's done some great things for Canada this year. That's him in the back.
Oh, I love it. It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, that's him in the back sporting the maple leaf for Canada. So he's everywhere. He's in my house, he's in my barn, he's in my life, he's in my dreams, but he's a pretty cool guy. And I do think that a lot of what we have right now is a relationship that we've created between the two of us. I think at this moment right now, he believes me more than he ever has. And we're going to do some big things. My ultimate goal is an individual medal this fall in Chile.
That's a really nice goal, and I'm gonna wish you so much luck to make that happen. I mean, honestly, I think having that bond with the horse and that partnership just sounds absolutely like a dream, you know, a dream, of course. What's his personality like?
He is perfect. He's spoiled beyond, but he's not pushy. Okay. In the barn, everybody loves him. He has the stall. He can see out one way and look at the ring, and he can see out another window and kind of look at our courtyard where the horses are getting prepared. And he's got eyes on us all day long. He's always watching. But he is a very, very sweet animal. When it comes to showtime, you can tell if he has a little bit of nervous energy by the way that he stands. Sometimes he's a little impatient. But for the most part, he's pretty easy to read. You know by the first jump in your warm-up ring who you're sitting on and what he's prepared to give. And I think certainly this winter, in our 3-year relationship, we are having our most consistent year where we're having the most success at the 5-star level, and only big things to come.
For sure. I wish you guys a lot of luck. You're doing great. I think it's so cool when you have such a friendly animal because, I mean, personally, I'm like one of those clingy owners that I have to constantly kiss and cuddle my horses. So it's so nice when you have horses that love it.
Yeah. He's got a little heart on his lip too, so it's very kissable.
That's cute. That's a kissable heart.
Yeah.
That's nice. What would you describe if you could describe your dream horse? Except Gakir, we know you already have your dream horse, but if you could just design your new dream horse, what would you want him to be like?
Well, I love bay mares. So for as much as my chestnut gelding is my #1 guy, and I have another chestnut gelding named Game Over that I think is a pretty awesome horse too, I'd say bay mares are something that I'm really drawn to. I think there's something so stoic about them. And if you look like even Bisquetta, that one in Otomi with Laura Crowd, that's a bay mare. She's plain, but she's like, you can't stop watching her. It's not like she has a big white face or a big white leg. She's just this workhorse of a mare that comes out and produces and performs every single time. And I think that's like a very stereotypical trait of a bay mare. I think that they're workhorses, they're bloody, they're fighters. So I would take a bay mare or a chestnut gelding.
Nice. I mean, honestly, I think I love mares. I think some people are like, I don't know, like they don't like mares, or I don't know, because their personality, it's definitely a lot. But I love it. If you could pick gelding or mare, what do you prefer?
No preference. I have no preference between geldings or mares. I love mares, but in my history, my most success has been on geldings. Mm. If I had a preference, I would stay away from stallions.
Yeah. And I've never had a stallion, so I cannot give an opinion, but just like, you know, seeing them around and knowing what they're like, I think I would pass.
Yeah. They're a bigger responsibility, yeah. I think.
A lot, for sure. What are your, I mean, you know, you told us a little bit about your upcoming plans, but what are your most long-term goals?
Long-term goals, everybody's long-term goal is to make it to the Olympics. So we've definitely got Paris on our radar. And I actually have a gray mare named Coconut that we have really high hopes for. Mm-hmm. And I'm super excited about developing her this year. She already has had some really nice success. We took her to Desert Horse Park where she placed under the lights. She's just a really promising horse, and she came from Yuri Mansour. Okay. And he actually sent Alon a picture with an Eiffel Tower, or not a picture, an actual Eiffel Tower with a timer on it that has the countdown. Nice. That has the countdown to Paris for Coconut. So yeah. So that's it's fun.
Good story.
Yeah, we have so many supporters around the world that support what Alon and I do as a business, as far as buying and selling horses, but also supporting our dreams for the sport. So when you have that relationship and you have supporters, Coconut is owned by the White family, and they also were invested in my goal and my dream and provided me with the opportunity to ride this horse and the Eiffel Tower with the countdown clock to Paris. So you know that you're really doing things right, or the best that you can, when everybody around you is cheering for you and supporting you on another level. That's just so great and exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you have all of the support, so you know that a lot of people believe in you. So if they do, and if it's not just one person, it means that it's possible.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. No, I'm excited to see how the upcoming things are gonna go for you. Now that I've seen you and that I've talked to you, it's like I'll be following you, of course.
And Coconut and Narco and Gakir and the whole team.
Yeah.
The whole team.
It's gonna be really exciting. I got a few questions in the questions box. First of all, I wanted to ask you this. I ask everybody that I do an interview with because it's like a topic that it's really interesting to me. So I was wondering, what is your opinion on clones?
clones.
Hmm.
I don't know. We have a horse that is sired by Gemini, who is a Gem Twist clone. And I thought that that was so cool. Like I love the horse and I love the idea of him being a clone. I didn't know Gem Twist as a horse, and I
Right.
didn't know what he produced directly. So I think that I thought more that it was cool that he was produced by a clone.
Yeah.
I think that I would have to have had a relationship with a horse that then was cloned to have a better understanding if the horse had that same personality, if it had the same characteristics, because also those horses are raised differently. They get started by different people. So even though they're the exact same, nothing else in their life but their DNA is going to be the same. So do they become the same horse? I don't know. Do they have the same characteristics? I don't know. I like breeding a lot. I like following it and understanding it. And I certainly can tell you, you know, of the breeds that I like of the bloodlines that I like and that I dislike, what I think is like a common trait.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have to know a clone personally to understand more about it.
If you had the opportunity, would you clone Gakir?
Somebody told me one time that they wanted to clone their horse, and I said, what a bad idea, because that horse is your soulmate. And what if you cloned them and it wasn't the same? All you'd be was disappointed, and you would be like reaching for something that was never going to exist. And I think that's what I mean. If I clone Gakir, his whole life would be different, because I didn't start him, I didn't develop him, I didn't meet him until he was 10. So now I'm going to clone him, and I'm going to meet him as a foal, and his whole life changes. Does it make him a better or worse? I don't know, but if I failed training him and it wasn't the same horse, then I would take that personally.
Yeah, you would be very disappointed for sure. I get it. I mean, it's so hard, right? Because you don't know what's their, you know, their memories. You can't know their memories. So what happens if you can miss a step and then everything changes. So it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of those things that, it's going to develop throughout the years, and we're going to have a better look at it once there's more clones and out in the world, and, we have a better picture of what it's going to be like. Yeah, for sure. Okay, then next question. What do you think we should try to improve as people being part of the horse industry?
I think that's on the individual. Like, I try to make sure that I'm well liked, that show management likes me, that in-gate people like me, that I'm on time and I'm organized, but that comes from myself. I want to make sure I have respect from the other riders, from the other grooms, from the other teams. So I think that you make yourself present, you make yourself aware, you make yourself friendly. We all have stressful days, and we all have ups and downs, and certainly in the moment, if you've had a bad round, do you want to make time to talk to somebody that you don't know? Maybe not, but you have to be aware that a person that's at my level, that's at my status, I know that I have fans, and I know that I'm being watched, and I know that I have supporters, and I represent them, and I represent my brand, and I represent Alonfurter Stables.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to come and buy a horse from us if I'm not being nice, or if I'm not treating my horse nicely. That's what makes us, our personalities, our results. So I think to improve as people, we have to be good people. And with cameras on telephones, we have to make sure that you don't get caught having a bad moment, losing your temper.
Yeah.
Certainly losing my temper on a horse is something that I don't do often, or maybe ever.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of the horse's personality, and I understand that they have good days and bad days too. But in the moment, how often do we see somebody jerking a horse or kicking a horse or yelling at their groom at a jump because they're frustrated? Like, so we have to work on being better people. We're public. We talked about Mexico City, how the warm-up ring at the GCT in Mexico City, everybody watches.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're in the warm-up ring or if you're in the show ring or if you're back at the stables or, you know, you're on a bus and you don't know that there's a horse fan standing behind you or standing beside you. You have to be careful what you say and how you act and how you treat the people around you. But I think that's in life.
Yeah.
We all have to be good people and be kind and recognize the good and bad and the strengths and weaknesses in everybody around us.
No, for sure. I think everything you say is absolutely right. Especially I myself, I haven't been riding for long. Before horseback riding, I was a professional figure skater. Long story short, I had to quit due to an injury. I was in the Italian international team for figure skating, so that's been my whole life. And after I had to quit skating, I was like, I'm just gonna start riding. And I told my parents, like, oh, I'm gonna ride just for fun, you know, like the weekend activity, and you know, like I believed it too. But then, you know, once you start, you're like, you just get involved in it. And you know, I wanted more, and then everybody started competing. I was like, I want to compete. Like, why can't I do it? So you know, one thing led to another, and here I am. But in the end, I mean, I remember everybody's watching. You know, like you said, when you have people, an audience, looking at you, even though, and even if there wasn't an audience, you always have to be a good person. I do believe in, you know, being good always, you know, brings you good things to you, because it's like, I do believe that. I do believe in like being positive and, you know, working hard and everything, and eventually things will come around your way. You know, I believe that. Okay, wait, hold on. Now, what are your mentors in this sport? You know, I know you were for EUN and everything, but what are the riders you used to look up to as when you were younger?
All my life, and even now, I look up to Laura Kraut.
Yeah.
You know, being a strong female rider. Also, Laura Kraut and McLean Ward and I all rode the same large pony.
Wow.
So, pretty great pony.
Nice.
So I always keep that. But of course, I look up to female riders, and I think that that's normal, being a female and being a strong athlete. I want to be just like them when I grow up. So when I was 10 and riding my pony, and Laura came to introduce herself, from then on, she's been my idol. And Missy Clark, who I trained with in the equitation when I was a junior, she is still a mentor. She's still very present in my life. If I have a question or a concern, I can go to her, I can ask her. I have a huge amount of respect for Ian Miller and working with him, and actually all the chefs. I have a great relationship with Mark Laskin, and I appreciate his friendship and what he did for me when I was on the Canadian team. And I had a good summer with Eric last year. So anybody that you work with, that you look up to, I think is going to create success, and it's going to be a positive experience. And I believe certainly that you can learn something from everybody, even if you learn that you don't like it. Yeah. At least somebody has taught you something, and you've learned that doesn't work for you, so you don't ever have to try it again. And I think that BC Madden is somebody that you would aspire to, you know, classic position, a huge amount of success. You watch her work with her horses. She also has such an understanding for horses. You never see her get frustrated or lose her temper when she's riding. She's like as cool as anybody can be. But, you know, I aspire to be great and to do great things and to have people look up to me, and maybe in 10 years you're going to be doing an Instagram live with somebody and they're going to say that I was an inspiration to them, and I think that would also be very cool.
No, it's always great to share something and have people remind you in a positive way, for sure. Somebody is asking, do you have a favorite horse that you've ridden?
I always say that, I mean, I have so many favorites, but there's horses at ages and stages of your life that you'll remember forever. And if one is better than the other, I don't know. I don't know if Robin van Roosendaal is the horse that I rode my first Nations Cup on when I was 25 years old. I don't know if he existed today in modern sport, if he would be as good as he was then, but that horse changed my life. A horse called Apikara changed my life. The equitation horse that I rode the first year that I was riding for Missy Clark, his name was Grand Finale. We were second at medal finals, third at Washington, fifth at Maclay finals. That horse was my obsession. You know, so ages and stages, you have a love affair with these horses, and they don't have to be the greatest horse you've ever ridden. The horse that I won Young Riders on, Leacock, that was the first horse that I developed from a young horse straight through to Young Riders. He's still present in my life, pictures in my house. Like, all these horses have had such an impact on me, and they've made me who I am. I can't pick one. If I could probably remember every single horse that I had a major result on, which is crazy, but we'd be here all night. But I appreciate
the list is long.
The list is long, but how cool is that?
No, that's nice. You have that opportunity. You have that in your life, that to say, I have a long list of horses I am very grateful for. So
exactly.
Not everybody.
Not horses that change your life.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, there's always that horse that does something special for you, and then now maybe you look at it and it's like, maybe it wasn't that great, or maybe I have better ones now, but still that one was like the one. So,
I'm never gonna forget that one.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned young horses. You know, you developed this horse from when you were young. What tip would you give to somebody who has, you know, the challenge of developing a young horse?
Patience. I think that's the most important thing. Horses at any age, but especially young horses. And the thing about horses is if you teach them something on Wednesday, they might not remember on Thursday. Some will and some won't. Some are faster learners. So you can't get on the horse on Thursday and be like, man, I taught you this yesterday. Why aren't you doing it? Why don't you remember it? Maybe you have to teach that horse the same thing for 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. Yeah. And then one day you're going to get it. But I think it's important, if you teach it something on Tuesday, you have to ask the same way on Wednesday, and you have to ask the same way on Thursday, and you have to ask the same way on Friday. If you teach it something on Tuesday and then you change the way you ask, they're not going to understand. So consistency and patience, and you never have to be in a hurry.
Yeah, you need all the time in the world.
Lots of time.
A lot of time. Okay, so I'm gonna give time to one last question before we go. So they're wondering, wait, I clicked on it. Okay, what do you think is the key to have a good relationship with your horse?
I also think time and patience. You have to make time for them. You can't ride them in a hurry. I believe that when you give a horse a carrot from the ground, they look at you like the person that gives them a carrot from the ground. But when you're on their back, they don't recognize that you're the person that gave them the carrot. Because when you give them the carrot, you're very relaxed and they love you and they look for you for treats. But if you get on and you jerk them and you kick them and you get frustrated with them, you can't say, I gave you a carrot, why don't you like me?
No.
Because the person you are on their back, they don't understand. So you can't really relate the two. So when you're on the back, you have to make them feel like you're that same person on the ground. You know, you have to make them feel comfortable and confident. And like I said, if it takes one horse a day to learn something and it takes another horse 2 weeks, you can't get mad at that horse. You have to take your time. So every single time that you put your foot in the stirrups and you're on their back, they feel you and they relax and they're like, oh, it's you. I'm happy that you're on me. Not, oh my goodness, what are you going to ask me today? They feel that.
Yeah.
So every day you ask them things, you have to be methodical and you have to be kind. And I think that you have to be strong, because I think that you can't let them have bad habits, but they have to understand what you're asking them. If they understand, I think that they'll give you the world. And the way that I train is going to be different than the way that you train, and the way that Alon trains is going to be different than the way that another person trains. But if the horse understands what you ask them to do, they're going to give you everything. So you really have to learn their personalities. What do they like? What don't they like? are they taking advantage of me? And if they are, how do I make sure that they're not taking advantage of me without getting mad at them? You know, it's like a relationship with a person. If you yell at somebody when you're trying to get your point across, they're going to get defensive and they're going to get upset, and then they're not going to want. Why do I want to work for that person? I'm getting yelled at. But if you're like, you know what, I think that you could do it better if you tried it this way, then as a human, you're more receptive to, okay, that sounds good. I'll try it that way. That's what you have to make the horse believe. You have to work with them.
For sure, like negotiate with them and, you know, try to get there somehow and figure it out. But I think these tips have been very, very helpful. I mean, I love talking with you. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm really excited we got to, you know, to organize it. I hopefully will see you around at some point if you ever come back to Mexico, or if I'm around Florida or anything, I will come up and say hi.
Please do. We'll be in Monterey in November.
Oh, perfect. Then I will see you there for sure.
We'll be in Monterey in November, my favorite. I love showing in Mexico.
Perfect. I'm glad you like it. Good. Yep. Good answer. All right. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good night. Thanks for your wonderful words, for your time, for your tips. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.